Welcome in. The floor is yours. An extension of 5 on the floor here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. We've got Greg Sylvander. You can follow him at Greg Sylvander. We've got Alex Salido. You can follow him at Tropical Blanket. That handle's finally going to pay off. And we've got Sean Rochester. You can follow him at S Rochester NBA or at what is Duncan's handle? Oh, D_Bo20, right? One of those two handles. So there we go. Alex is hosting. He does look like a lightsaber back there. That's true. We are sponsored today. We got a couple of great sponsors today, and thank you for all of our local sponsors. We really appreciate you. We got a couple local sponsors on the show today. Our friends are at Signs Broward, Fort Lauderdale. Signs Broward, Fort Lauderdale. Well, that's kind of cool. It's down the street from me. And if you go down Las Olas, you will see lots of signs from Signs Broward, Fort Lauderdale. Piazza, lots of the other restaurants. They use them. Why do they use them? Because they do a great job. You can find them at signsbrowardfortlauderdale.com. It's a one-stop shop for everything signs. They do the outdoor signs. They do the indoor signs. They do the sign repairs. They do all kinds of different signs, and they do trade show displays. You know our friends over at Everything Trade Shows as well. They do the maintenance. The phone number is 954-791-8685. 954-791-8685. Mention 5 Reasons. You get a discount there. Make sure you mention Chris Chase as well. He's the man in charge. Go to signsbrowardfortlauderdale.com. All right, let's get to it. We're going to do a bunch of different things today, but we're going to do them quick, okay? So everybody's on a clock. You got 30 seconds to talk at the most. Boom, and then we go move on to the next person, okay? We're going to go through with the trades to start because obviously we're going to get into the Heat and whether they do anything. We've talked about this already on a couple of different episodes. Another report out there now that the Heat are interested in PJ Washington. Greg, can I say that was your report, or am I going to get in trouble if I say that's your report? That was your report, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. I just want to be clear.
I also really want PJ Washington in Miami, so I may, from a fan perspective, be excited about that. But yeah, no, that was based off information I heard that was a name that Miami was interested in. It looks like it would probably be some sort of 3-for-2 type of situation. It's just a matter of if they can be outbid by somebody else.
All right, and of course, Yurt may play into that. But we're going to get into the trades around the NBA now, and I'm going to ask you one question, Sean, and you got 30 seconds to answer. What the hell are the Portland Trailblazers doing?
I have no idea. I think it's trying to surround Dame with selling things for like 50 cents on the dollar. They have no direction. I have no idea. It makes no sense what they're doing.
All right, well, if people are not aware of what they've done, after they traded Covington and Norm Powell for basically a couple of picks, and the corpse of Eric Bledsoe, they traded CJ McCullum to New Orleans. Interesting move for New Orleans. I'm going to go to Alex on this next. Why, if you're New Orleans, do you make this trade now? CJ's got a lot of money on that deal. You don't have Zion back yet, and even in a weakened West and beyond the top, I guess 6, it's garbage. I mean, really beyond the top 3 or 4. But why, if you're New Orleans, do you make the move other than the fact that you just get a more talented player?
I mean, he's a very good player, obviously, and I just think it's more about. I mean, if I had to guess, I haven't actually read into anything. I haven't read any reporting as far as their thinking or anything like that. But my guess would be they're just trying to keep Zion happy, and I guess Brandon Ingram too. I just think for the price, that's great value. The Pelicans are not going to attract somebody of that level. Even if CJ McCollum is considered a B-level player or whatever people want to look at him as, he's very, very good. And now he's going to be there with Ingram and Zion whenever he does return. They're actually the 10th seed right now, so they're in the play-in. So right now, I think this kind of solidifies them, even though their team is not awesome. They're 21-32 or something. It's not like they're good. But adding CJ McCollum there is going to get them into that, I think, solidify them as that 9 or 10 seed or whatever to get into the play-in. I guess they care now over there in New Orleans. But basketball-wise, it's a good move.
It might also save Griff's job, or at least extend it for 1 year, which might be part of this. I'll go to you on this, Greg. Who has looked worse over the beginning part of this trade deadline period? Is it Portland, or is it, and I feel like we've said this for the last 20 years, the Sacramento Kings?
Sacramento. For them to make that move and put Halliburton in the deal, going to Indy, that's the guy everybody thought that Sacramento was building around. And I don't know. I thought that he would have been more of a complementary piece to Sabonis. I'm surprised De'Aaron Fox hasn't moved yet. They have Davion Mitchell, who's a really good young player there who's been playing really well. One of my favorite rookies. I think in our column on 5reasonsports.com, that was my rookie of the year pick, which doesn't look too crazy anymore. At the beginning of the year, it did. So, yeah, I don't know what Sacramento is doing. Are you competing? Are you not? Who are you centering your team around? Who are you not? So I feel like maybe there's another move because like now also the Harrison Barnes situation and you have Marvin Bagley who's not happy. So there's just a lot of stuff there that doesn't make a lot of sense, especially when they just gave Rashawn Holmes a 5-year deal or whatever it was. It just feels like they're just making random transactions that don't fit together.
Sean, is there anything that's happened here at the beginning of this trade deadline period that affects the Heat? Because I'm struggling to find the connection. It feels like these are all sort of tertiary. I mean, they're teams that don't really affect Miami, unless there's a piece that you wanted Miami to go after. But I don't even know what they could have.
No, I mean, the only thing you could point to is the Cavs trade. And even that, I know a lot of people early on kind of panicked on it. And LeVert is good, but I also think he's somewhat ball dominant. And I think that could mess up things in Cleveland because he has a tendency sometimes to be a high usage player. I forget what podcast I was listening to today, but they hinted towards this. And I wonder if that's is gonna work out how they maybe intended it to.
All right, Alex, I'll go to you on this. Now that we've had all of these trades here, I mean, sometimes the biggest activity does come 3 or 4 days beforehand. Teams want to jump ahead of it. Do you actually think we'll see an active deadline?
I mean, I think we've already seen an active deadline. Like we just saw CJ McCullum and Sabonis get traded in the same day, and we're 2 days away from the deadline. Like that's pretty good. I know the biggest trades don't always happen the day of, but I feel like that's already pretty good. We saw the trades that we already talked about before with Portland. I thought that was kind of out of nowhere, even though I think there was, rumors that maybe the Blazers would sell. That whole thing and the way that it's turned out now is just so weird. Like I saw that report that they're looking at that they're actually trying to get better, not worse.
Right.
And I mean, good luck with that. Like I guess I hope you have some intel if you're gonna be doing a move like this. Like because otherwise it's just like, okay, you're gonna attract somebody to Portland. Like, why would anybody want to go over there? Like, what does their track record suggest that anybody's gonna go over there for? Like they're gonna trade for Jeremy Grant and hope that Dame's cool with that? I don't know, man. I just think I don't think this really affects the Heat too much. Like the LeVert thing could work out well for the Cavs, could work out badly. Either way, I don't consider the Cavs the same level threat, like I said on 5 on the floor, as some of these other teams. So I've already had fun with this trade deadline. I hope it will be cool if the Heat could get another 4. Otherwise, I'm enjoying this.
Let's do buyer or seller here before the deadline. Greg, let's start. Okay, we're just going to go around. I'm going to give you a team. You tell me if they should be a buyer or seller, because we are seeing that some teams have decided they're buyers, but I can't understand why they're buyers right now. Boston, with their luxury tax situation, but the way that they're playing, they're blowing out a bad Brooklyn team tonight. Buyer or seller?
Sellers.
For the tax, you think?
Yeah, because they might as well get out of the tax if they're going to be in the play-in anyway, and just see if Tatum and Brown can play well enough to get them, competitive in a playoff series. I see them ducking out of the tax, and Oklahoma City probably helps them do that.
Atlanta, Sean, buyer or seller?
Probably buyer. I don't know. The Collins thing is weird. They're another team that's got a little bit more direction, but I don't know where they go here because I don't think they're a true contender. They might need to take a step back to take a step forward moving forward with that young team.
All right. We've seen, obviously, that Cleveland has declared themselves a buyer, to replace talent that they lost. Do you see any? I'm going to give you the teams at the top of the East, Alex. We know Miami, if they're doing anything, is likely a buyer, not a seller. I mean, a seller would be just to make sure you're under the tax, but they're already under the tax at this point. But any of these teams, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, do you see any scenario where any of them are sellers or any scenario where any of them are buyers at this point? Or are we just standing pat?
One of those teams doesn't belong in that category that you just said. I'm not going to say who, but
Philly, I know which one you're gonna say, but I mean, they're the one that I don't know if trading Simmons makes you a buyer or a seller.
No, because in
I
reality,
think
we all know it's like
Brooklyn, Brooklyn and what was the other team you mentioned? Milwaukee. I think they both could be buyers. Honestly, like you
I
can
was
make a
gonna
case
say.
for both of them.
I was gonna say the Heat, the Bucks, and Nets could all be chasing a similar type of player. The thing is that I think the Nets and the Bucks would be willing to give up more at this point because the Nets and the Bucks kind of need extra front court guys. I think so. I don't think the Heat are desperate for another front court guy. At least that's what it seems like, that they're not willing to really give up all that much. They just kind of want to add somebody else. But the Nets and the Bucks should be doing that. Like I think if I was a fan of either of those teams, I would be a little bit disappointed if they didn't make a move like that, because it's obvious that the Bucks, like we talked about before, without PJ and now without knowing if you're ever going to get Brook Lopez back or right, if he's ever back, like you got to add somebody else there, because nobody, like Bobby Portis, you know how I feel about him. I just don't think like they're missing a little bit up front, I think, but they're really good.
Greg,
and the Nets, it's the same thing for them. Like they just need to shake it all up, period.
Greg, Charlotte or Toronto, which should be a bigger buyer at the deadline?
Oh, Toronto, no doubt. I think that they're looking to build on the momentum of how well Siakam has played. And also they're playing their starters insane amounts of minutes. So I think they need to buy themselves some bench strength there. So I would expect them to be buyers. Charlotte is more of, I would maybe say, a buyer for a specific. They're going to sell Gordon Hayward. Like that's what they have to sell. And I think they're looking for a big, like that's probably their one position where they're trying to get a bolstered player. So that, whatever big would come their way, that would be the buying scenario for Charlotte.
Okay. Masai, in my view, has never lost a trade. The only trade situation he's lost was not getting something for Lowry at the deadline last year. But has he ever lost a trade? I mean, the Gary Trent trade now looks like a complete heist. I mean, because Norm's not even there anymore. Right? I mean, has he ever lost a trade? I feel like he's never lost a trade. Like I would not trade with that guy. Like there's certain guys in the NBA I wouldn't trade with Pat and Andy either, but like I certainly wouldn't trade with that guy. Sean, I'll go to you on this. Pivoting, because we've talked about all the teams in the East now, pivoting out west. I would assume, the Suns, the Warriors, and the Grizzlies. For each of those three teams, give me one piece that they could use, because it's pretty clear now they're the class of the West.
Oh, man. I mean, I think the Warriors, I guess you could go Draymond insurance in case that he can't get right. The Suns, they're a team that I would just I'd stand still on. I guess maybe backcourt behind Chris Paul, but I don't really know if they need to do anything. And the Grizzlies, I hope that they stay pat, because if they're doing consolidation trades where they're trading 2 or 3 of those young guys, I think that they're looking too close in the future and not the potential of these guys down the road. Like they might only get to the second round this year, and that's okay because they've made such a big jump. And then maybe down the road you make the next trade. And I think that's a team that a lot of people want to play for because of Ja.
Yeah, Gad makes the point about Eric Gordon. I do think that's a player that's probably going to move here before the deadline, and he's interesting for the Suns. I want to pivot to the next group of teams in the West. Jazz, Mavericks, Nuggets. Greg and Alex, I'll let the two of you guys debate this. Those three teams, first thing, are they all buyers in your view? Jazz, Mavericks, Nuggets, or sellers?
It's actually a tough one.
I would say that they're all buyers, but on different levels. And some of this could be lateral moves that maybe, I don't know that we can classify as buy or sell, because there'll be like for like trading. But with Inglis going down in Utah, I feel like they have to look at something in the front court. So there may be something there. Although H&R Block has been pretty solid, I do have to say, and even the advanced metrics lean into Hassan Whiteside this season. So props to him. But yeah, I think all of those teams for different reasons should be buyers, because they're in the hunt, out west.
What do you think? Jazz, Mavericks, Nuggets, Alex?
I'm agreeing for sure. The Jazz should be buyers. I agree with Gad there. Like they need to do something about that defense. It's been said for a while now. Like you can't just have Gobert cleaning everything up. And he gets talked about as somebody who gets played off the floor, but really everybody else is the problem there on defense. Like, they just don't have many good defenders there. It's just and then it's a lot of Donovan Mitchell and Bogdanovich as your offense, which is fine. They have a very good offense. Conley's very good. Gobert, does his thing on offense. They just need some help on the defensive end. The Mavs, I don't know how they can be buyers. Like they have the Hardaway contract, the Porzingis contracts. I don't know if they have picks they could throw. I guess if you can combine some of these things together, maybe then they could buy. I don't know how else. And as far as the Nuggets, I don't know that they should buy because of not knowing, me not knowing Jamal Murray's timeline. I think if you think that you have a good shot of him returning for the playoffs, then yeah, they should be buyers, because I think that's a team that if he's back healthy, and I don't think Porter can come back this year, right?
No, he doesn't.
They'll be missing Porter, but still, that with Murray back, that's a team that could easily win a round or two in the playoffs. So they could, if they think he's coming back, they should be buyers.
All right, we've seen that in the next group, the Clippers are already buyers, the Pelicans are already buyers. So if that's the case, Sean, and then we're going to pivot to the next topic after this, should the Wolves and the Lakers, ESPN's team, should they be buyers?
I think the Wolves should over the Pelicans. I don't know why the Pelicans are buyers versus sellers. I know they're trying to impress Ingram and Zion, but that CJ McCollum trade is weird to me. But I guess they've gotten back in the play-in chase. Wolves, I would say, try to get pieces and get into that playoff punch. Bottom half play-in, that would be good for them. The Lakers, I think you're pot committed. I don't know if you guys play poker, but you've got so many chips in there at this point. What's it to lose some more chips, right? And I think LeBron's going to force it. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the Lakers, I think you go for it. I mean, I don't think it's going to work out. I hope it doesn't work out, but they'll still lead off ESPN tomorrow.
Maybe they'll trade Russ for John Wall, and then John Wall will get bought out, or something crazy like that.
Well, and then he ends up in Miami.
So
we'll see how that goes. For nothing. All right, we're going to pivot back to the Heat stuff here in a second. We do want to tell you about another sponsor, 5 Reasons Sports Network, another local sponsor. It's our friends over at Water Cleanup of Florida. If you're a property owner with an insurance claim, this is where you got to go. Whether it's water, mold, or fire damage, you got to find a reputable, fully licensed, insured, and certified contractor. Water Cleanup of Florida is there for you 24 hours a day. They've got over 60 years of combined experience. Michael, Robert, and the team prepare to handle any size disaster. Their objective is to make the cleanup and insurance claim process painless and hassle-free. They can handle everything for you. It's a one-stop shop, so no need to bring in other contractors. They'll handle it all for you. Reach out to our guy, Michael Greenstein, on his personal cell, 954-579-0356, 954-579-0356. You can also call the number. It's on the phone there for 24-hour emergency service if you check out the website at Water Cleanup of Florida, and their Water Cleanup FL on Twitter. If you've got the schmutz,
they got the guts.
There you go. All right, let's get to the next topic here, and we're going to do this quick, okay, because I want to get to a surprise topic at the end. 30 seconds or less, I'm clocking it. Most likely scenario for the Miami Heat prior to Thursday. We will start with you, Alex. Go.
Man, I thought you were going to go with me last. I guess the most likely scenario is to get a player that everybody is a little bit underwhelmed with that can play the 4 and then probably won't be in the playoff rotation.
No guesses on who that is? This is the first time you've ever gone under. You had 13 seconds left. Go ahead. What do you got?
I don't know. Now I got to come up with a name. I was trying to be quick. I don't know. One of the names that Gad threw out there. It's not going to be Batum. It's not going to be one of the people that everybody wants is what I'm going to say.
So it's going to be Mike Muscala, probably. All right, go ahead, Sean. Most likely scenario prior to Thursday's 3:00 deadline.
I'd probably say Duncan Robinson. No, I'm not going there. Are you crazy, right? No, not a chance. No.
The plot twist.
Wait, he disappeared?
No. Manny's trying to cancel me. He's trying to filter me. I think I agree with Alex. Gad has cornered the market. He's got all those names from Spoelstra, and I think it's one of those 4s.
One of those 4s. Greg, most likely scenario before Thursday.
That they find KZ Okpala a new home just to open up a roster spot. I think that's likely. That's probably the most likely thing, with probably getting no player in return.
You think he's looking for apartments in OKC?
Maybe. I mean, he's only 1.7 million. He can go to a lot of places, actually.
Fair.
Give me a percentage on PJ Washington, Greg.
I would go a percentage on the 4 spot in general. Probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 30-35% chance. And that could accelerate rapidly depending on if guys get rerouted. I mentioned this to a group of Heat fans today in the pool party chat that is led by Sean Rochester, that if there could be some opportunistic players that become available just because they have to get rerouted because they're parts of trades and teams don't really need them or want them. So I would expect them to be watching the transactions as well, and probably 30-35% chance that they get somebody in return.
You know what's remarkable is before the season, we would have been on the watch for point guards who got let loose, like maybe an Eric Bledsoe or somebody else like that. It could be a backup to Lowry. And right now, Gabe has played so well that like there's no interest in that. There's no appetite for that at all, which I think is a testament to him. All right, I've got a hot topic here for the last 5 minutes, and I'm gonna let Greg and we're gonna record this stuff and we're gonna put it out there. We're gonna put both of you guys on the spot here. Alex and I will assist with this. We do want to tell you about prizepicks.com. That's the official fantasy sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E. That's the code that you got to use. You get your initial deposit up to $100 match. You don't have to play the $100 all at once. You can play 20, 30, whatever it is you want to play. You can play 15. And you can play power play, flex play, so you have control about how far you want to go into this thing. It's a great game to play, and you can also pair it up with all the NBA stuff, with all the Super Bowl. They got the Super Bowl props are on there right now, okay? So check them out. We're going to start doing some shows, Eversol and Freeman and I, on the channel. So go to prizepicks.com, use the code 5, F-I-V-E, get your initial deposit matched. All right, the big news tonight, and I didn't really know this was coming, was that Erik Spoelstra was named a top 15 coach in NBA history. Some interesting names on that list. I thought that Doc Rivers would blow a 3-1 lead for one of the top 15 spots, but there you go. He's in the top 15. Pat Riley's in the top 15. Our friend Dr. Jack is in the top 15, the late, great Dr. Jack. But some other pretty good names on that list. Steve Kerr's on that list. I know some people had some problems with that, but I think the fact that he's resurgent at this time gave him that. But let's go to it. Thank you, our producer, Manny Chang. Let's go to it here. I'm going to throw it at you because Dwayne Wade put it out there in the atmosphere tonight. He said basically that, and he's on the TNT show. Now, they were not over Spo. It was alphabetical.
Spo made it. Spo made it.
And it was not over Spo. He was. I saw that first too, and I was like, wait a second. Red Auerbach is first because he's A. Okay, so it's not in order. It's not in order. It's just the top 15. Report. And this is current and former coaches that put this thing together. Who is the better coach?
I didn't know that.
I'm going to get this out eventually. Who is the better coach? Pat Riley or Erik Spoelstra? Greg, go. 30 seconds.
Y'all think I'm going to say Riles. That's what you think I'm going to say, because he was the first person to do all kinds of stuff on the defensive end that other people weren't trying. He has managed different styles, coached different players, been able to coach superstars, the absolute godfather. You see where I'm leading with this. Erik Spoelstra is a better head coach, I think, for a career because Erik Spoelstra is not done yet. And I think that he is going to prove over the course of the next, like, let's say half a decade, that maybe he gets another couple and builds on that legacy. I think he has legs with USA basketball that are going to grow later on down the road. So I just think because the story's not done with Spo, I'm going Spoelstra, even though y'all thought I was going Pat.
Sean?
I think you thought you were going to pit us against each other. And, I think the way that you credit Spo is his versatility. He's adjusted so many different times, won different ways. And obviously Pat did too with the Lakers Showtime style to the Knicks and the Heat, where they were that grinded into the mud, defensive, hard, physical. But Spo's done it so many different times with so many different teams, whether they got to the playoffs, where they won championships, he's always adjusted. And you see that this year too. So, and his resume is not done. I mean, how many more years can Spo coach? I think that part of it too. I'm going to lean Spoelstra, but it's close.
Here's the argument for Pat, if you want to make one. Okay. The argument for Pat is that he did it in 3 different places. Erik has had 1. He did win with 2 completely different styles. I think from a motivational standpoint, it's Pat. I don't think anybody in history, really. Phil is the only one in that class, and and Popovich, obviously, the total package. But as far as finding a way to get to his players, Pat did it one way. Phil did it the complete opposite way. I think they're 1 and 2, to be honest. In that, I don't know what order you want to put them in.
There is no Spo without Pat.
There is no Spo without Pat, and I think
I'm making the case for Pat.
No, you are making the case for Pat, but here's the thing: I don't know if we can make that case as a coach, though, because that's a decision that Pat made as an executive. It did flop in my face. I really thought Greg was going to go Riles. That's where this blew up on me. But I do think the case can be made for Pat in the motivational sense. I think as what he did going into New York. If people don't remember, the New York situation was not very good when he went in there. And the Miami situation was really not very good when he went in there. And he built both in part by the force of his personality that he did that. I think that even Pat would acknowledge that Spoelstra is a better tactician than he was. I think that is clear. I think that's what you're getting at, Sean, is I just think as a tactician, I don't know if it's especially close. I mean, Pat, when he came into the Lakers, I mean, he basically adopted, the style that was there. I mean, Paul Westhead was there before, but now I'm forgetting. Was it McKinney? I've read all this stuff, but now it's washing over me because I'm old. But basically, I mean, he basically adopted Showtime from someone else, and he let them sort of run it, and put it in Magic's hands. Defensively, he had some pretty advanced principles. But I don't think that, Sean, he had the sort of the level of tactical acumen that Spoelstra has displayed.
Well, I think you give the credit defensively to Pat, but Spoelstra was one of the first, if not the first, in the NBA to go to that small ball 4 when Battier and Bosh started playing those spots. Now almost every team in the league does that. That was the beginning of phasing out those kind of dinosaur big men that don't exist anymore. So that's, I think, a bigger change than what Pat did on defense. He was just very good at coaching defense. Versus, I think Spoelstra was ahead of his time, changing the way that the game was played.
Well, what Spoelstra did was he borrowed from principles like from Don Nelson and Mike D'Antoni, and he kind of perfected it. Some of it by necessity, some of it
Roy Hibbert off
What's that?
To get Roy Hibbert off the damn floor.
What? Right. I mean, that was in well, and he saw enough of Dexter Pittman in that minute and a half that played.
I love that Roy Hibbert is a push Spo to innovation. He's like, we got to figure this Roy Hibbert problem out.
He changed the game. Verticality changing. And by the way, when I was sitting there at the Vogel press conference, did you hear him? Were you? No, you weren't there for Vogel, I don't think, Alex. I don't think you'd come in yet. And Vogel was talking about verticality at his press conference, and when he was here with the Lakers last month, and I got PTSD.
Oh my God!
From all of those Indiana pressers. I do think Alex comes in that he had to push Stan Van Gundy out of the way again. He didn't really push him out of the way. There were a lot of things that went into that. Again, I bought into him pushing him out of the way thing, and it turned out that my information was not completely 100% accurate at that time. It's an interesting debate. I did not expect us all to agree. Pat has said that Spo is a better coach. Well, what do you think? But you didn't see enough of Pat, though. I mean, 2006 is kind of your first frame of reference. Like, I don't
saw the championship. Well, what else do I need to know? But seriously, as far as an all-time coach, I don't know how Pat isn't ahead. If you're just talking about as a Heat coach, I definitely get the Spo thing. But all-time, like, there's no doubt it's Pat. Are you kidding me? The dude is a legend. Maybe I'm just a little bit too nostalgic with him because he's Pat friggin' Riley, but
I mean, if careers ended today, I think that Alex is onto something, but that's the issue, is that Spoelstra's still young. He's still a young stud. So,
well, I will say this, Greg.
I don't think small ball. No,
I don't think that Eric would ever. I mean, let's admit it. Pat quit on the last team that he had, right? Like, I mean, he kind of took off. There were some scouting trips, right? Like, he kind of. I can't see Eric ever doing that, right? Like. But if I wanted to pay one of the two of them for a speech, I'm paying Pat, okay, over and over and over again, even if Pat keeps telling the same story about getting lost in the ladies' room. The last 4 times I've heard Pat speak, he tells the same damn story.
Can't say that story anymore.
Yeah, he can't tell that one anymore. All right, I'm going to start with an even harder. I'm going to end with an even harder question. Thanks to our sponsors at Water Cleanup of Florida, Signs Broward, Fort Lauderdale. See, all of our sponsors are local. Isn't that cool? Well, Prize Picks isn't local, but you can play in Florida. We'll just do this here. because we do have a Duncan Robinson supporter on here, and we do have somebody who's traded him 35 times. So I'll let Greg and Sean focus on this. When the season ends, because we think that Duncan's going to stay here. Okay, I don't think Duncan's going to be traded before Thursday. I don't think there's anything that really makes sense. I've said this on numerous platforms already. You need to get a closer to make it worth it. You look at the numbers. Jimmy and Bam are much better when Duncan is on the floor, and so I think that Spo is going to keep it that way. He just might not play him a lot, okay, or down the stretch of games, but he's going to play him for those first 7 or 8 minutes with Jimmy and Bam. At the end of the season, are we going to say Duncan Robinson through the playoffs has earned a place to be part of this core going forward? Greg?
Hell no.
No, God, please, no. Sean?
Oh, man. Probably not. I mean, it's realistic. Like, I could come up here and say that, but like, for the money, his contract is built to be traded. That's just the truth of it. They signed him to that contract to eventually trade it. I don't think he finishes the contract, and I don't really necessarily think he finishes this summer as a member of the Miami Heat.
Wow. But if they win the championship, I take all that back and they keep everybody.
Duncan is going to have a big playoff run, and he's going to be on the Heat next season. That's my prediction right now.
Look at this. Alex has jumped out tonight as the Duncan Robinson and Pat Riley supporter. So there you go.
I'm seeing my flag.
But what does Duncan have to do, like in the playoffs? Because this is the discussion that happens literally every day after a game. Duncan shot 40% the other night, and they were worried about the 5 minutes where he looked like a JV basketball player throwing the ball all over the gym. Like, what does he have to do in the title run, the playoff run, to keep him around here? What shows his value?
As long as they make the finals, he won't go anywhere.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
I don't think there's a statistical number like 12 points per game. Does he get to 15, 40% shooting?
Sean, I think he has to make big shots. I think he has to make big, memorable shots. I think that because that covers everything up. Nobody remembers the fact that Ray Allen didn't shoot that well in that postseason or that season. Nobody remembers. He's got to make big shots. Now, they may not all come in the fourth quarter because I don't know that he's going to get those minutes, but he's got to make shots that create runs or stop runs. He has to be efficient in that way. But you're right. Everybody's going to pick on what he doesn't do particularly well. And, Greg, I'm not with you on this. Even if they win a championship, they will flip it because I think Pat's learned his lesson on that because in 06, he kept the thing together, and everybody since has told me that was a mistake. In 13, they kept the thing largely together with the exception of, Miller and the amnesty, and that was a mistake. I feel like they will even if they win a title, they will refresh things, and that's the contract they would use to refresh it. So I don't think he's safe anyway, but I think that to stay, he would have to make big shots.
That's music to my ears. Beautiful.
That's all I'm saying. Thanks to Sean, our producer, Manny Chang. Thanks to Greg, I think. And continue to follow our reporting going up through Thursday. Thanks to our sponsors, Water Cleanup of Florida, prizepicks.com. And, of course, Signs Broward, Fort Lauderdale. Check out the Bahama Rican boys Feel the Heat crossover. It finished right before us. It's still on the channel. Thanks to Star Wars. Have a good night, everybody.
Because I'm a stud.